Now, after yesterday's defeat against Spurs, I feel like I can finally have my definitive opinion on Graham Potter. I've been holding this off because I'm not about my ego. I'm all about fairness. That's the type of guy I am. I like to give time. I respected the context and factors and difficulties that I still stand by would undermine your work. But right now, I don't think Graham Potter's the right guy for the job. And the reason why my opinion is like this currently, right now, is after that Spurs game. And I think the thing that's undermining his work right now is that he can't handle the pressure. He can't handle the squads. He can't handle the egos. He's way too egalitarian in my personal opinion. I could be wrong, but in my opinion, from what I've seen, he's too egalitarian because certain guys who don't have futures in this club, why are they even in the team, realistically? Like, that tells me you're kind of giving into the squad pressure. You're trying to be too Mr. Nicey nice to make everyone happy. But at this level, the only thing that makes people happy is results. That is what I've been saying throughout the week. Unless you win, that is the only thing that will buy you more time. That is the only thing that will get players accepting their fates at a football club, because it's very simple. If the guys ahead of them are getting results, they can't really say anything when they're out the team. The game is complex, yet simple at the same time. That's the beautiful thing about it. One thing I've consistently said throughout the season is that I cannot have a definitive opinion until certain factors are in place. Why is my opinion now different? Well, we have a full strength team and we have new signings that have been here for a little bit now and that have played a few more games. And after seeing the constant mistakes right now, and I've been critical in my match reviews, but I've criticised certain management decisions, certain lineup selections, certain players that have been played and used in the team. I just don't have any confidence anymore. And that's straight facts. I've waited and waited and waited to give a fair assessment of the situation. Even though this board wants to back Graham Potter, realistically, they aren't going to blindly stick by a guy as results continue to fall and fall and fall. And for me, it feels like the ultimate mistake Graham Potter is making is that he is too egalitarian. He wants to make everyone happy. And that makes a lot of sense when you're seeing certain players like Aubameyang, Ziyech, maybe even Koulibaly, certain players that realistically probably aren't going to be here next season, getting consistent minutes in the team now. How does that make any sense? One frustration too is the lack of a clear tactical game plan, because since he's taken over, there's been like 3 different ways we've played. At the start of his reign, a lot of it was back 3 systems, and we did pick up results against Milan, Salzburg, Prem teams like Wolves, etc., etc. And we saw a lot of ideas that were a lot more reflective of Graham Potter's time at Brighton. Now, during the winter period, this is where I had to have patience and I had to be fair on Graham Potter, because for me, injuries without a doubt played a massive, massive part during that time. Why? I think it was easily summed up that we didn't have wing-backs, and we were using guys like Conor Gallagher and Ruben as wing-backs during those periods. I was waiting for the January window for Graham Potter to have more players reflective of his style and his game. But I have been disappointed by what I've seen post-January now. And for me, this 4-2-3-1, it looks a bit basic. It's giving me FIFA vibes. It looks a bit too simple. And it's very easy to get tactically beaten. And I think we're seeing that now. I don't think many teams are really busting the gut as much. It's not as difficult for them to nullify us, to counter us, and to get results against us. And you think with the depth of quality and talent at his disposal, he should be able to come to a better conclusion with what to do with the rest of this team. And he isn't able to do so. I feel certain players have been out the team that they'll be very aggrieved by as being quite unfair, especially when they do have positive results in terms of the intangibles they bring into the team and what they do to help us get points and bring leadership. And I feel like this mistake of turning towards using a Joao Felix in this, supporting striker role or whatever, it's just too easy to stop and nullify. Not only are these guys needing a bit more time to clock the Premier League, the football we're trying to play, you're expecting to play like prime Barcelona football with like great technical individual talents. That ain't going to work in the Premier League. And I'll say this here, one of the greatest managers in history in Pep Guardiola, there's a reason why he has not been able to fully recreate tiki-taka Barca football at Bayern, and now especially at Man City. There's a reason why Pep has adapted towards coming to the Premier League now, and that's why he's turned towards signing monsters like Rodri, like Haaland, like Laporte, big physical presences, because he understands that the Premier League is a different beast. So it gets you thinking, with some of these technical guys, they would flourish in different leagues like the Bundesliga or La Liga, where there's a bit more space, it's a bit more end-to-end, and the ball's on the ground a bit more. But in the Premier League, when a lot of teams are very comfortable sitting back, defending and prioritising results over football, we are getting undone by incredibly easily, and it's coming across as very naive. It's coming across as very tactically naive. Now, I've done a lot of videos last week explaining my issues, and I won't be making any more videos on what Graham Potter can do to turn things around. No, I have given that benefit of the doubt. I have been patient. I've wanted to make my conclusion definitive when I have enough personal information for myself to come to what is the right conclusion. Because ultimately, yeah, as I've stressed, I don't care about Graham Potter. I have personally wanted to see him hopefully, come back and rise above some of the, personal micro attacks and, other factors and details that have been very unfair around him. And I still stand by that. But it's not that deep where it's going to come at the expense of my club and us challenging and winning and turning things around. It will never ever be like that, even though I respect the guy, and a lot of us do. But I think right now, the pressure currently was way too much for him. I think his style and trying to maintain the cohesiveness of the squad is definitely working against him right now, because it's impossible to keep everyone happy. It doesn't work like that. So when certain guys are up the team for wrong reasons, when certain guys are back in the team for wrong reasons, and when you're bedding in new players that you've just signed in January too, you get the Spurs game where it seemed to be the game that showed that you're trying to make everyone happy whilst making no one happy at the same time. You're undermining your work. You're undermining your tactical acumen. You're undermining what's put you in this position to begin with. And I just think right now, it's only right and fair that we now look at other candidates and other managers. Because here's the thing, yeah? When these managers come in, this is what all managers do. They see what their predecessors did, they clock the mistakes they made, and they don't make them. They do their own thing. And a new manager's going to feel more emboldened right now to say, listen, you're the players that's on my team. I want to work with you. I'm sorry, you guys. You know what this game's about. You're all old men. You know what this game's about. You know what you signed up to. You're not in our plans. Now, in my opinion, the board will have to take L's financially in the summer, because naturally a lot of these guys will lose market value. But tough. These are the consequences when you have this scorched earth approach of, doing the right thing, exploiting FFP for good reasons, bring in the foundations of the team right now. But Graham Potter is showing at this point in time that this demand is currently a bit too much for him. Right now, I feel like Graham Potter, it's too much for him. I think it's too much stress. It's too much pressure. He's getting a lot of basics wrong. And it's just like he's now recreating this really basic football that is just absolutely different to what he was doing before at Brighton. And now that I'm clocking this, I just don't have any faith or confidence. I don't have any faith or confidence that we can get more wins now under Graham Potter before the season ends. I don't have any faith or confidence in lineup selections in the future. If by some miracle, he's got 2 games left now, if by some weird miracle he turned this around, it's going to be literally the will of God, because I won't be able to predict that. None of us can predict that, because there's been no consistent signs of improvement game in, game out. He's undermining his own work right now. I think it's quite obvious and evident to see. And realistically, you guys, we have a project in process that we want to build. And as I said in a video last week, it's bigger than Graham Potter. Process is not being created for Graham Potter. The process is for the long-term future and sustainability of Chelsea Football Club. And to get that working properly, you need someone who can come in and get the foundations set in stone. Because we know that guys like Pep and Arteta and Klopp, they have had inconsistent seasons the first time they took over. But one thing that these guys showed, and this is the reality here, is that the foundations of their ideas and their plans of their tactics was getting created and set. That was the reason why they had time on their sides. But with Graham Potter right now, there is no foundation. It's changed up. Since Jao and guys have come into the team, this 4-2-3-1 is heavily reliant on getting the best out of Jao Felix. And listen, the guy is a top player. I'd be curious to know what he did elsewhere. But to put so much faith in the guy that's already here on loan right now is giving me a lot of vibes about, okay, the club really feel like this is the future of the football club and we need to get the best out of him. As we saw in yesterday's game, he was completely ineffective. And as I've said in videos last week, with bad results brings less confidence, brings bad mentality, negativity. And that's going to undermine the quality of any football player. It doesn't matter how good you are, you're a human being. You can't just rise above that. And I kind of feel like it's up to Graham Potter to show that type of iron will of, listen, this is how things are being done. It's going to be different. But realistically, in my head, I try and picture the situation. And this is my subjective take. You don't have to hold it against me. I don't want you to just believing me word for word. But I kind of see it like this. When you've kind of shown yourself to be a man of a certain character, it could come across like you're overcompensating now if you start making like, dictator decisions behind the scenes with the squad right now. It is going to feel like you're undermining your position when you're going to be making like dictator style decisions now to try and save your skin and try and keep this job, because it's going to be very interesting to see how the squad responds to that. But after a while, at this level, everyone at the highest level prioritizes wins, their careers, their own self. If the guy at the helms isn't giving you the foundation and confidence, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to just blindly support. I've definitely been patient. I've understood the context. But right now, the situation is different because all these factors I've been waiting to see are in place. And it's like we've gone back levels that we weren't even showing when Graham Potter first took over, when there was more like onus to really have faith behind him and his ideas. I think it's disappointing, but I think this is the repercussions of life at the big clubs. It's completely different. As I said before, of course, clubs like Brighton trying to recreate their own like personal, Leipzig, Salzburg type of models in the Premier League, that's going to work because expectations weren't necessarily there. But it gets different when you're at a club where every win matters, where, making money matters, where success matters even more. And that's just the reality of what it's like when you're one of the fortunate clubs that have the opportunity to win trophies and silverware every single season. If Potter turns things round, it's going to be a miracle that no one predicts, and it will be like one of the greatest comeback stories probably ever. But if you're asking my humble opinion, I don't have any faith in that realistically. I kind of feel like it's going to be overcompensating in the next two games. Leeds United, Borussia Dortmund, if anything was to happen, these are the next two games. But right now, I do feel like it would be silly if the club aren't actively looking at possible replacements to take over the project, because it has to go to the right person. It can't just be a short-term thing where it's going to someone that's not going to be here and you're just wasting the tactical evolution in the team. We have very good players. Of course, these guys need to still clock the Premier League, but you're making their lives even harder. You're putting these guys under more pressure when this current system you're making for them is pretty mids, and it does go against what you've been about and what you've been doing. I'm very confused by that. I've spoken about things I'm hoping to see from Potter in my preview for the Spurs game. 3-4-2-1, 3-4-3. Let's go back to basics. I've been screaming, let's go back to basics now, because this way of playing is just never going to happen in the middle of the season. Like, realistically, to break Spurs down, we have to play some of the most intricate, beautiful, telepathic football to go through that low block, and it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And to constantly push this system and this way of playing, it's what I say all the time in this channel. In this game, at this level, you can't blindly rely upon hope. You can't do that, because when you're relying upon hope, it basically means that you've lost already. And I feel like there's been plenty of time now. There's been a lot of patience. I still respect the guy. I don't think it's as bad as people are saying, but I think there's current pressure, and I think the management, because that's the key thing, yeah? There's a difference between having the tactical acumen and then having the management to put that together and put that in place. That is the key detail that Graham Potter, for me now, it's become very evident, is lacking in his management style at this football club. I need to keep things real, I've said it time and time again. I need to wait before I give my definitive opinion. Me personally, I felt like too many people were jumping down his throat a bit too early when there weren't new signings here, there were injuries out the team. But I think right now, before we get to the nitty-gritty part of the season where things become even peakier and more tense. I think there's been enough evidence now that factors are in place, now they are together, that I just don't have the confidence or faith or trust about there ever being a turnover. And listen, the club comes first before anyone. That's how we all feel about things, and it will remain to be like that. And I can't trust the guy that he's going to get the right system in place. And I don't really know what to expect now in the future under him. And when it's kind of like that for me, then it's only telling me one thing at this point in time. No disrespect to the guy, good guy, but I kind of feel personally, if he gets sacked, or when he gets sacked, he will look back at this time and he will be personally frustrated. He's going to regret so much. Why did I not do this? Why did I not do that? I knew I should have done this. I knew I should have done that. We've heard every manager who's left us, Lampard, Sarri even, regretting going to Juventus now, even Thomas Tuchel. Why do so many of these guys leave here with regret? Because the pressure, the dynamics, you need to have the personality, you need to have the willpower and the real strong belief in your methods and ideas. Like, no, I know how to bring success here. You. Thank you, but you're not in my plans and you're not going to be part of this team anymore. This is this core network of players that are part of my ideas and vision. I think Graham Potter should have done this. He couldn't have done this earlier, which I understood, but now that his signings are here, after you invested a lot of money signing some top quality guys, you're making their lives harder by how you're setting them up right now. So my friends, that's my personal thoughts and opinions behind things. There's going to be another video discussing the latest news around Graham Potter and his future coming out later as well. But I've got my definitive take now. I don't have faith in Potter. I don't think he's the right guy anymore. And if he somehow turns these next 2 games around, it's not going to be because I had any faith he did it. It would just be complete surprise, and it'd be like a lottery card at this point in time. And I don't like just relying upon blind faith and doing lottery tickets. So you guys, EFC, share your thoughts and opinions below. How do you feel about this? For me, I kind of feel like the Spurs game was the definitive game now to tell me everything I need to know about how things are not working. I've been fair. I'll always be fair in this channel. I always use analysis, data, points, facts. But right now, I think this guy is just undermining his quality. And I think it's due to the pressure, dynamics, and being way too egalitarian. So I'll see you guys soon with some more videos. Cool.